This story starts with a legal counselor winning a case who shows up back at home and meets his rich dad. He takes a jug of champagne and strolls outside. There he sees a tree in which a name alongside years were referenced. We are moved to another scene where a similar man emerges from a condo and attempt to take care of the eager feline. Unexpectedly, a sound heard by him. It was a geeky young lady doing her everyday custom at her condo. This Jai Slam, a severe Indian dad who have faith in discipline as his most memorable technique for educating, climate it as his family or an outsider. She inquires as to whether they can get some moment nourishment for the visitors who were coming to see their little girl for organized marriage. According to he, that sort of food will go into the house solely after his demise. While this man was current and lived by his own guidelines. Jai gets the call from the visitors and uncovers young men alongside his folks are not coming. Immediately, her sister blame her for not wedding a man with the goal that she can too. This is a custom most Indians follow. Jai was coming when he sees the man and the ladies kissing each other with energy and start yelling at him since he could have done without the demonstration. Outside, individuals uncovers the person is a criminal since he was a youngster, yet they couldn't stop him for reasons unknown. They additionally know how his dad is a major money manager. Jai additionally yell at them and leaves in the taxi alongside his little girl. We see her functioning in a library where a man uncovers her name is Saraswati. He say thanks to her for giving her the exhort on market patterns. By and by, he request another blessing and inquire as to whether she could fill in as a moving bear, and she reluctantly consents to it. Subsequent to buckling down as a bear, she was en route to return, where a similar man struck her direction inside a lift. It was really hot outside, so he started to take off his shirt, which Saraswati couldn't deal with and yell at him to stop. He likewise helped her out to remove the bear suit, however it was stuck, and he inadvertently opens it and as well. Much and she escaped from the spot. The man gives her the head back. Furthermore, requests that she suggest him a book for somebody who had been to prison for quite a while. What's more, she gives him the book, and he additionally gives it back to her. We can see his jeery companion leaving him and yelling at him. At the supper time, Saraswati becomes more acquainted with his dad has organized another kid to wed her, who even have a steady employment. She and the kid get together with one another. In any case, Saraswati was not feeling it. She returns to give their telephone back. In any case, here's them offending about her, who calls her uglier than their sweethearts. The man criminal person likewise sees this on his way. Her sister, Kaveri, began to cry on the grounds that the man expressed no to her too because of some explanation. She returns in the library and gets a magazine and continue to call somebody for arrangement, yet the holding up was too lengthy and just way was to get suggested by somebody. She noticed the lawbreaker fellow outside once more. One evening, she sees her sister attempting to sought after Sanjay, her sweetheart who was scarcely conversing with her. Saraswati descends steps and reluctantly requests that the man come inside. Before any discussion, he needed to complete his activity. She was searching for some help. She believed his sweetheart should do her makeover since she was the truly outstanding right now. Out of nowhere, his ex shows up and sees Saraswati, which was enough for her to set off. Ruby's resentment made Saraswati cry and man believed her should apologize to her, yet she would have rather not and toss a jug at her, however man saves her while taking all the damage. They disappear to a close-by medication store. At the same time, the general public watchman calls the neighborhood police. At the store, police shows up there and yell at the man and tell him along with young lady to sit in the police jeep. Yet, the young lady apologized to him and asked him to let them go for reasons unknown. He concurs and they stroll to the emergency clinic. The cop discharged them since her words helped him to remember his late spouse. The watchman was taking to somebody on the telephone about the two of them. Later, Saraswati's folks show up back at the general public where every one individuals uncover about the demonstrations of their girl. Every one of the men alongside her dad show up at the condo and sees them on the bed and misread the demonstration. This truly stunned her dad, and in that general area he closes every one of the associations with her little girl from that day. She returns to her office while crying and blameworthy. In the transport, she gets a call from her mom and uncovers everything to her. Indeed, even after so much, young lady was at last glad for Kaveri, since she will get hitched before she could. She is at her office and becomes more acquainted with she couldn't in fact get the arrangement for anything position she was attempting. Later on, she was unable to track down a space to live in. So a similar man comes and gives her the keys to another condo. They come inside an old structure and sees a vacant room. Lastly was feeling quite a bit better to see it. He later go out with her to purchase vegetables and other fundamental things. She winds up drinking a bang, an Indian beverage with marijuana substance in it. There she begin to act oddly and crazy, where the man was dealing with her. He later takes her to the library and inquire as to whether she did anything unusual when she was inebriated. To which, he says she romanced. He disappears to purchase a brew for himself, while Saraswati sees somebody dropping the wallet, which gets gotten by a poor person. In the wake of checking the wallet, man takes off in sheer displeasure as though he has seen something awful inside the handbag. The monitor's name is uncovered to be Inder and he drives her away from her, which was experiences by the financial specialist, whose wallet she returned earlier. Inder was exceptionally furious at himself and felt disappointed. He comes to Saru's condo, yet she wasn't there, and even attempt better places. In any case, she was no place to be seen. At long last he finds Saru sitting on a bus stop, who was crying in isolation. He calls himself a monster and says sorry, to which the young lady embraces him, which was likewise seen by her dad. She at long last becomes acquainted with that he disdained his dad, who she met prior. He winds up asking her, on the off chance, that there was an answer for her concern, which was as it were to wed a person had a place with her caste. Be that as it may, she likewise thinks she looks appalling. What's more, nobody needs to wed her. Inder takes her to a problematic spot to her a major person makeover and thoroughly changes her appearance. He thinks her family would be glad to see her like this, so he personally take her to them. She was exceptionally anxious about this, yet anyway choose to go on. After arriving at the loft, she sees a custom occurring, in which she was think about dead. This was a stunning second for herself, and she was unable to feel more crushed. Seeing this fiercely of her dad, even the person was stunned. She uncovers she isn't a failure and choose to proceed with her life. Also, perhaps wed somebody one day. Then, at that point, she will return to the house, where her dad will embrace her seeing her wedded. She returns to her office, however this time she was wearing present-day garments while getting seen by everybody. Her companion stops by and requests her for the explanation from makeover and she uncovers she had tracked down somebody. Inder additionally noticed the man acting peculiarly and requesting Saru time to time. He uncovers about the person who was searching for herself and inquire as to whether he was irritating her. He save and demanding the justification for keeping away from him, yet she didn't uncover the explanation. He likewise uncovers he made a rundown of the relative multitude of folks who were very much settled and 1 week from now they will come see her. The person called Abhimanyu asks her out to go out on the town with her. He uncovers how he enjoyed her makeover and new self. He at long last asks her out to wed him. Out of nowhere a call comes from Inder. Yet, nothing is uncovered about a response yet. Later she meets Inder, who takes her to meet a person, yet she uncovers how Abhimanyu asks her out for marriage. The two of them celebrates, while Inder was experiencing seeing all this as though his heart was breaking step by step. At some point, she uncovers how she was going to Turkey. Before long and Inder was upset about it. She gives him her wedding card. He begin to drink a great deal seeing the wedding card and follows a vehicle where Saru's dad was sitting. Furthermore, he attempt to convince him to take the card, however his inner self was tremendous. At long last it was the day of the court marriage, where Saru sits tight for him, yet he was mysteriously gone. Everybody including the legal advisor was taking a gander at her, however there was no expectation. Inder didn't have any idea what to do as of now, where the attorney advised them to leave the premises. She find Abhimanyu at his condo, where he advised him to come inside the house. She tells this to Inder and believe that he should punch, yet he stops her all things considered. Indeed, even his dad emerges from the condo and uncovers he have a deep understanding of her and her family and shuts the entryway all over. Saru was distraught at Inder for not punching him and tells how Abhimanyu never merited any of her. We can see them in the special night suite, which was reserved for the marriage, and there she began to kiss him, as though she was truly frantic. They at last has become one that day, and Saru should be visible with Abhimanyu once more, who was embracing her and takes her someplace. Inder likewise gets a text from her about the occurrence and returns to his loft. He was gathering his packs and everything and he was prepared to move out of there. Abruptly, Saru's mom shows up and sees her image adjacent to himself and sort things out. According to Inder at last, he will leave the town for good and takes the card of her sister's wedding to her office, however she was not there. Abhimanyu comes to meet Inder and tells how he parted ways with her since their last gathering. There was no piece of information of Saru and Inder himself was searching for her frantically, lastly tracks down her sitting on a spot. She resented him since he let her go, however she didn't trust him any longer and was profoundly disturbed. He helps her to remember the night they spend, yet she lets him know how it was 1 minute to ease her pressure. She was unable to oppose herself from embracing him and swoons down in his arms. He figures out that she has mind cancer and is taken to a medical clinic. Specialist lets him know that her life partner definitely had some awareness of this. He at long last returns to Abhimanyu and punch him seriously, where he uncovers how he got to be aware of her cerebrum cancer after he parted ways with her. He attempted to request that she wed him, yet she denied Abhimanyu. She likewise gave him commitment to never tell about her condition to Inder. Later we can see him investigating her telephone photographs and figures out how desperate she was for marriage. Later on, she awakens and sees Inder and strolls with him. Inder brings her into an exceptionally filthy room and turns on every one of the lights. He does a lot of things to satisfy her while likewise drinking. Inder shows her dad's recordings too, consequently fulfilling her. It was clear she truly adored her dad. Inder doesn't sit tight and proposes her for marriage. Be that as it may, she denies him despite the fact that he was demanding her a ton. After some close-to-home talk, she was indeed inside the medical clinic. While Inder himself was tanked and began to make a demonstration before her dad. He advised him to stop this nonsense and leaves in the wake of getting slapped by the man. He awakens at the highest point of a structure where a police officer shows up there too and takes him to the police headquarters after getting all the protests. In the interim, Saru gets released and sits tight for him outside the clinic, however police was preventing him from moving ceaselessly. This defeats him and he takes off from the police headquarters. While she was missing Inder with her entire heart and crying reasoning of him. She even attempted to call Inder, however his telephone was not with him. He was making an honest effort to escape from the police, even battles with several of them. In any case, he is at last ready to escape when the fundamental auditor himself offers him a chance to take off. The cop gives him around 10 minutes. Inder goes into the library and meets Saru while being cuffed in there. She uncovers that she additionally need to wed him. The police officer shows up there and watch Inder and her embracing one another, so he lets him go. This was life a gift from the police. While sitting, she tell him to not grieve when she will disappear from this world. Later he returns to Jay's home to tell him he planned to wed his girl. He additionally specifies that he can take anybody's life for his bliss and he can likewise end his own life as well if necessary. Mother likewise arrives at shut down all the nonsense. The following day, the two of them would have been hitched in court within the sight of overseer. They do all the custom and acknowledge it each of the individually. Be that as it may, he removes her from the court when it was an ideal opportunity to acknowledge the commitment where he needed to. Acknowledge that he regard his dad and they choose to wed without the promises. Unexpectedly, the dad comes where she embraces her dad and implore him to allow this union with occur. He inquires as to whether he says no, to which she leaves Inder's hand. His dad uncovers how he undermined him yesterday night, yet his dad came out sure about his choice and allow them to get hitched. Everything goes well overall. Lastly, they were a hitched couple, even her dad has acknowledged her. After marking the agreement, she began to feel a piece woozy and swoons away on the spot. Her dad alongside her mom were truly crushed after seeing her like this. Every one of them becomes acquainted with that she doesn't have too lengthy to even think about living, which nearly blew their mind. He returns to his dad's large chateau and requests simply a little spot at their patio, yet his dad blames him for taking someone's life. Since he saw the blood smudges on his shirt and he escaped from that point. He returns to his significant other and uncovers how his dad would not battle for his case, despite the fact that being the greatest criminal legal advisor in the entire nation, and that is why he leave away from him. She recommend Inder to pardon his dad, yet he would have rather not. She advises him to draw nearer to her. Also, advises him to bid farewell to her. The two of them were crying and she tells him she cherishes him a great deal and she leaves the world before his eyes. Her family was crushed and he leaves the spot as he was in shock. His dad likewise shows up to the medical clinic, where Inder uncovers about his significant other passing. Furthermore, this makes him extremely crushed. He at long last embraces him while telling the same words Saru shared with him. We are moved to the scene, where Inder is currently a popular legal counselor and describes the amount he misses her a ton.